Welcome, everybody, with a new episode of our webinars with Shure. My name is Barry Kassab, and I'm a market development engineer for MCA, which is Musicians and Consumer Audio. And today's webinar is going to be focusing on podcasting. What are these aspects to make your podcasting more successful? And of course, podcasting, it's all about the audio more than the video. I know a lot of podcasters today, they also do video with their podcasting, but let's say if you have a pristine video with a average audio, your podcast is not going to sound good. So I know with the changes right now, a lot of people are starting to consider to do podcasting, and they're looking for the equipment that is right for podcasting and how to select that as well. Moreover, a lot of the content creators that is related to podcasts, they have no idea where to start from other than the content. So they have the content. They are thinking about some equipment, but they haven't got pinpointed what are the things that is required to make your podcast very successful. So today I'm going to talk about all these aspects. I'm going to also talk about the setup in general, in addition to what can we provide to you as a manufacturer in terms of solutions. So I'm going to share my screen. Here we go. So got a very basic presentation. We've got some pictures and some schematics I'm going to share. So hope that will be very helpful to you. So starting with, we need to talk about the room acoustics. Sorry. Now, the reason the room acoustics plays a big role in that is that whatever sound in your room is going to be captured by the microphone. And this is one thing that a lot of people do not take in consideration. So what happens in the room? First, how the room echo effect disrupts the quality of your podcast. Secondly, we need to look on how does the reverb and echo happen in the room? Because when you understand how that happens, you start understanding how you can actually combat that. So as a result, we'll be able to eliminate the room reverb, which is the boom in the room, or the kind of the hollowed sound that a lot of us experience in many of the recordings. So I know a lot of the audience today, they go online and they check some musicians, or they check some live performances on social media, and they realize some of these videos have a very, very hollowed sound, like a living room empty sound, or like, a empty space kind of sound, which is a very negative effect when it comes to doing podcasting. That also applies to live streaming. So whatever applies to podcasting will apply to live streaming in general. But since today's webinar is about podcasting setups, I'll be addressing podcasting the most, which is the spoken message that is recorded or done live on the social media. So let's understand the room echo effect. How does that sound? So generally, because rooms are enclosed and they have walls, they have surfaces, you have a table in front of you, you might have a mirror somewhere. Any surface, any empty surface in the room would affect the audio and cause more reverb or more echo. Now, how does that happen? Simply is that we can look at the primary most effective sounds that can be heard or perceived by your ear as a human, which is the first order and the second order, okay? Or we call it the third order in that case. So what happens is your initial sound, which is the one directly reaching to your ears from me as an audience, or in a case in the podcast, this is a microphone. So the sound reaching to the microphone initially, this is the initial sound or the direct sound. But there are other sounds in the rooms that you are in because of reflections. The most that you know of is easily you have screens in front of you, which is a flat surface that's going to reflect backwards. And if behind you have a wall, it's going to reflect back to the wall, then back again to the microphone. You have a ceiling as well. And then, of course, you might have empty floors, as in tiled floors. Tiled floors are they have a very good reflections. especially if they are shiny and, or glossy. Plus that you have windows in the room and many, many more. Doors that are glossy, they're flat. All these, they add more reflections. So the more reflections, that means your microphone is picking multiple instances of the same sound. So what happens is you have the initial sound plus more in the tail, which sounds like a reverb. Now, sometimes also the reverb can sit on another sound and get boosted up, or on another sound and reduce it. So then it affects also the tonality of the sound in the room. So when you are, let's say when you go in a bathroom, the sound is boomy, or like in the elevator, it sounds boomy because it's a small enclosed area with a lot of reflections that ends up boosting the low frequency to a certain limit. So the listener on the other side will always know if you're in an elevator or not, or if you're in a bathroom or not, because of the tonality that it generates, and because your brain is already used to that sound, so you can tell that he's in an enclosed area. So that means this kind of acoustics is very bad to do any kind of podcasting or content creation online. The reason is the bandwidth that you're using is limited, and flooding the bandwidth with unwanted kind of frequencies is gonna work against you. Okay. So generally, the more reflective surfaces, the more reverb in the room. So I just explained how does it happen. It's like sitting in a room with a lot of mirrors. Now, can you tell a window right now from a mirror based on the picture here? It's very hard. It's not easy to tell where the window is because of the amount of reflections you have in the room. And this is exactly how a echoey or a reverberant room sounds like. Now, usually they measure the reverbs in the room or the amount of echo in the room with a factor called RT60, sorry. RT60 is the amount of time it takes for the sound to decay half the way down, or by half of its magnitude. So that means when you measure the reverb in the room, if it exceeds a certain level, it's not going to be intelligible. And this is something a lot of the conferencing companies or companies that installs conferencing equipment, they take in consideration, which is the RT60. Now, RT60, that means you need to understand the amount of reverb in the room to get an intelligible audio. But when it comes to audio-video conferencing, for example, like now we are now audio-video conferencing. If my sound is similar to the sound on the phone, it's still intelligible. You still can hear me. But there's a new factor here that we need to take in consideration, which is how the quality of the audio is compared to the content that you're doing. So imagine if you watch TV with a phone-like audio. Like your TV at home sounds like the sound coming out of your phone. Would that be a nice experience? Definitely not. Imagine if you're watching a documentary channel with a sound like this. It'll be irritating, and soon you'll feel irritated and you don't want to watch the channel anymore. So now there's a new factor here that is different to all the scientific parts, which is the stuff that they take in audio and video conferencing. So talking about the RT60 or the STIPA, which is the intelligibility of the audio, which is the two measurements. They use STIPA A and STIPA B. These are good if you want to do just basic communication online, as in delivering a message. But when it comes to a quality kind of quality audio, it's a different caliber here. So these will not be taken into consideration anymore. The only thing you will take is making your RT60 as minimal as possible, as in your room as tight as possible. Now, the considerations taken here are pretty much turning your room to be as damp as a recording studio to some extent. Or I can say something like a bedroom. When you walk in your bedroom, because you have a big bed, closets, sometimes you have a rug or a seat on the edge, your bedroom always sounds tight, sounds warm. There is no echo in the room, not like your living room probably, or not like your dining room probably. All these empty spaces will have more reflections because of the space, number one, and because generally in our region here, we tend to put less carpet because of the amount of heat we have in the region. Now, to move forward here in the way of eliminating the room reverb is to consider certain things that you can add to your room. I'm not talking about making your room a recording studio or making your room make your room be equipped with a lot of clutter that you don't want. Your room will be still looking stylish, nice, but you'll add things that will eliminate a lot of the bouncing sounds around, and then your room suddenly will be tighter and sounding more like to be like a studio without that, studio feel, especially if your content is not studio related. So my content is more about audio because I work for Shure. So if I'm in a background where I'm in a studio, it doesn't harm that. But imagine if I'm talking about lifestyle. How is that related? Maybe if I'm talking about musicians' lifestyle, it might be relevant. But if I'm talking about different kind of lifestyle, let's say I'm talking about traveling, or I'm talking about interior design, then this is not going to look nice. So that means if I want to do a podcast with a video capturing as well, and this is the atmosphere I'm in, or this is the room I'm in, it might be irrelevant. So there are certain things that are in reach, they are affordable, and it can help us reduce the amount of bouncing in the room, sound bouncing or reverb technically, and then suddenly your sound is tighter. The first three things that I'd like to mention are, of course, having furniture that like sofas. Sofas generally absorb a lot of the reflections. They help in refracting the sound or killing the reflection from certain sides of the room. You can see in this picture down here that the floor is tiled and shiny, so it is a bit reflective. But generally, that kind of tiles, the wooden tiles or even the synthetic types of them, which is like the synthetic wood, it still helps in reducing the reverb time because the wood kind of vibrates. So when it vibrates, it helps to kind of reduce the reflection because it's not 100% solid like concrete. Another thing is adding frames in the room. Any kind of frames, pictures, picture of yourself, your kids, or even just nature, abstract drawings. All of that helps in refracting the sound. So instead of making a full reflection, it makes a refraction. So the sound comes in and it just scatters. So it works as a diffuser. The other part is doors with textures like this and not just flat also works as a diffuser. Generally, wallpaper is a good way to diffuse the sound as well, especially if it has a texture on it or it has a kind of a embossed drawing or any kind of thing, including that because the wallpaper is made of paper and the paper is a damping material because if you look under the microscope, it has a bit of a thickness and it's fibers. So wallpaper generally reduces reflections. Now, because sound travels through air, also having something which is called a door trap or door sound trap, which is that PVC plastic. It's just you stick it on the door and it makes sure to close that distance or that gap below the door. It helps reducing any sounds coming from the outside into the room. So you're in a flat, you have somebody who's sharing with you. It could be your family or it could be your roommate, and they need to use the facility because you're broadcasting from your place. So somebody opens the door or closes the door, and that sound comes in your recording, and that creates a kind of a glitch that you don't want to hear. So using those traps actually eliminates any leaks from the outside coming to the inside, but also it kind of also tightens the air in the room in which you have less reflections as well. Using the fake walls, like brick walls, now it's available online. A lot of them, the websites do sell those. These are very affordable. They're made of foam as well, or kind of a soft plastic material. Because they're made of that material initially, they absorb a lot of sound. So they reduce the reflection. Secondly, because the texture is very rough, it works as a perfect diffuser. So that helps also making the sound of the room tighter and sounds like a radio station. Plus, it looks nice. So for those who have any kind of content that is relevant, now you are able to recreate your room in a way that is relevant to your content and still able to reduce the acoustic bounce in the room, which is the reverb. More ideas can be in a standard living room style. We can see on the right here, we have a living room with some carpets on the floor. Carpets are very important in dampening the sound. Bookshelves are amazing sound reducers. If you've ever been to a library and you go between the shelves, you can hear how tight and how quiet the sound is. And generally in the libraries, you always notice that it has to be quiet because the amount of books and bookshelves in the libraries already reduces the road noise if it's downtown. Even if it's in a building, most of the libraries, they have carpet, they have a lot of tables, of course, obviously plenty of books and bookshelves. Plus, people are already sitting there. So the amount of absorption in terms of acoustics and refraction in terms of diffusion is there. So generally, when you walk in the library, that kind of quiet ambience is because of primarily the books and the shelves. So having bookshelves in your room, behind you, on the side of the room, helps reducing plenty of echo and reverb in the room. Plus, it looks good on your screen. On the left here, we can see also that, it's a brick wall behind them here. There's, the sofa. There's a table in the middle with some stuff on it, few frames, plants. All of that as well helps in doing plenty of sound absorption. So this is the most important part, at least to start with, before we even talk about the equipment. Now, the equipment for this can be massive, but today I'd like to address the easiest and the most cost-effective and easy to find equipment that we provide for podcasting. Of course, there are more equipment that's going to be attached to those, which I'll mention. And of course, on your right, you can see there's an icon that says Q&A. This is where you can type in your questions. And of course, obviously, I will provide my answers accordingly. So if there's any setups that you want to learn about, I will be more than happy to answer. I'd like to mention as well that today's webinar is from two parts. So today's part, we're going to just list down all the possibilities. Next week, we're going to have another webinar where I'm going to plug in different microphones, and then we can test the differences, and you can have a profile about those for your podcast. Now, the Motive family here from Shure is dedicated to content creators, and it makes your life easier in terms of connections, number one, setups, and mobility. So these three key aspects to these products is the selling points, in my opinion. Now, moreover, there are stuff under the surface, which I'll mention down the line. I'll start with the Motive MV5. The Motive MV5 is a very nice looking microphone. I have it down here. So that tennis ball looking or baseball looking microphone here, very small, easy to carry. It comes with a platform on the bottom. Sorry. The most important thing about this microphone, first, that it has a classic look of the microphone. So you can see here, it's one of the old microphones that is in the picture. I believe it's the S36, which also the 520DX, which a lot of the harmonica players play today. It has the same form factor of this microphone. So you can see it's still keeping the classical look of the microphone. So having this on your desk inside your interior design that you have is not going to hurt that at all. Now, key features to this, it is definitely suitable for musicians. Number one, vocalists with a very high quality audio. It's a smartphone, PC, Mac compatible. No drivers required at all. On your phone, you only need a single application for any of the Motive products. So it's a single app. And that app is not to identify it as much as to be able to control it. It has a seamless integration with your audio-video equipment. It's built in with a phone jack at the back. So a lot of the equipment today that doesn't have a phone jack, now you have a phone jack here where you can plug in your headphones. The part that I love about these is something called a DSP, which is a digital signal processor. This is a very important part that is very important for any person who wants to do content creation online. Now, I don't expect with the previous part of the presentation today or the webinar that adding things in the room is going to make it perfectly sounding. It's going to help a lot, definitely. But would it be perfect like a recording studio? Maybe or maybe not. But you know what? With the added digital signal processor in these microphones, you are able to color the sound to get rid of any imperfections in the room. And you can actually make the sound even more crystal clear. This is something that you cannot get when you get an average microphone or when you use your average microphone in your device. A lot of the standard microphones that you find online or the entry-level equipment that is made for, I don't want to say for amateurs, but let's say for hobbyists, does not have what it needs to make the sound go from the average built-in microphone or standard microphone in your devices to something like an external microphone. But having a microphone with a digital signal processor or DSP, that definitely changes your experience drastically. I'm not going to repeat that every time we see DSP. I'm just going to elaborate about it right now. So a digital signal processor would consist of having a limiter. So that means when you speak louder than you're supposed to be, it's not going to clip the mic or cause distortion. It has a compressor. That means if the microphone is far from you, your sound is not going to be sounding faint. So it's going to be able to kind of bridge that distance a bit. And an equalizer. The equalizer is able to reshape the color of your sound to accommodate the imperfections in the room. Now, another thing related to this microphone is that it is threaded from the bottom here. So that means you can change the angle up and down. And also you can mount it elsewhere, which I'm going to share in the next slide. Of course, this slide here is showing you the way you connect it. Easily USB cable to your laptop or your phone. You mount your headphones in the back of the device and you're good to go. Very straightforward. Now, the threading is a camera standard threading. So anything that can mount on your camera is going to mount on the MV5. So you can use scissor stands, something like this, with the right threading. There are adapters that adapts from microphone thread into a camera thread, and these are available in the market. And then you can actually mount this microphone on a stand, just like my cool micro here, and then you can use it in your podcast. And suddenly now you have a semi-professionally looking setup that your viewers would like to see. And also, it's not going to make you dunk like this guy down to the table to do your podcast. Now, if your podcast is a video, you need to keep eye contact. You need to maintain that, and you need to maintain your sitting posture. And you cannot be dunking down all the time just because the microphone's on the table. Of course, because of the proximity. Now, of course, compressors can eliminate a lot of that, but it's not going to be as efficient as having a closer proximity. It makes it sound much better. Even here, though I have a very high quality microphone and professional, the moment I step away from the microphone, you can hear that I stepped away from the microphone. So having a good proximity is very important. So using these accessories is very important, and having a microphone that has a mounting capability is going to change your game. This microphone, as I said, is suitable for musicians because it has a large diaphragm. So it's able to capture a wider frequency response. So people want to play an instrument or want to do content with this microphone using an instrument like a guitar, an oud, a flute, even percussions. The microphone is perfect for that and makes sure that the best sound quality is captured. Next in the family is the MV51. I'm wearing a T-shirt with an MV51. This microphone is based on the Model 51, as you can see in the picture. That was done in the late 30s. This microphone, as you can see, it still maintains a classical look. It's heavy, it's made of metal. So the moment you pick it up from the shelf, you go like, wow, I didn't expect that. And yeah, you can hear this. Now, the same thing in this microphone would apply from what we mentioned before about the MV5 with few little extras I'm going to mention. First of all, the microphone built inside here is a higher grade microphone than the MV5. So this can accommodate even a wider frequency response. That's even more adequate for more versatile kind of instruments. So you have more room here to record different kind of instruments. It's a perfect mic for voiceovers, by the way, as well. So for those who like to do voiceovers and not podcasting, this microphone as well is lovely. Now, two things here are different than the MV5 is number one, the microphone thread here on the bottom, which is in the foot. This one is a microphone threaded size, so no adapters is required here. So you can mount that directly on a microphone stand or a scissor stand. So in my condition here, it'll be mounted upside down like this, but I'm still able to use it on my scissor stand or on a standard microphone table stand or a normal boom microphone stand. Or you can just let it sit on the table just like the picture here. The other part that I love about this microphone is the control panel or the touch panel at the front. From the word touch panel, you understood already it's a touch panel, nothing to press. That means nothing to wear out on this. A lot of the equipment nowadays do wear out because of the frequent use. You start doing one podcast a week or two podcasts a month, and then before you even know it, because of the demand, you escalate that to have at least 4 to 5 podcasts maybe in a week. And that means more usage. And when you have equipment like this, you start to kind of wear it out really quick because of that. Now with this, because it's a touch panel at the front, you have nothing to worry about in terms of wear and tear. The other thing is you have shortcuts here, so you don't really need to go and press any buttons behind the mic. So the MV5 had buttons at the back, which I didn't mention, sorry for that, which you can change the profiles or the presets. But with this, you only touch at the front and you can see it. You can change your volume on your headphones, your gain structure on the mics, that means the sensitivity, just by sliding your finger on the front, and that happens. So this is like a very quick shortcut to your settings. So it can be mounted just like we see on the table. It can be mounted on a microphone stand like here. The microphone also connection is very simple. You have a USB cable to your laptop or to your phone, and you plug in your headphones at the back to monitor yourself, and you're good to go. These are different also examples to be used also with instruments, or even you can aggregate this device if you're using Mac, or if you use PC, you can use ASIO for All, which helps in combining two devices into one recording interface on your computer, and then you'll be able to record multiple speakers. This is something quite famous that a lot of the podcasters already use. So those who have more than one person or you have a guest, then you're able to record the two microphones together. Next in the family here, we have the Shure MVI. The I stands for interface. Looks like this, a palm-sized interface. The beauty of this device, and based on today's webinar as well, I think this is one of the most useful devices for podcasting, simply because it turns your phone into a recording interface just using this. This interface can communicate with your phone or your iPad. It can also enable you to plug in any microphone. And that means you are able to plug in any kind of microphone from the professional level or the professional family level. Okay. Can you confirm that my screen is shared? Can you see my screen? Is that something you can confirm? I'll stop the sharing and I'll share that again just to make sure that we're sharing the right screen. Okay. Just in case I was not sharing the right screen, but here we go. So the MVI is a interface, a very easy to carry, and it is cool. I got a confirmation that we're sharing the right screen. So we can plug in any device here. So it has a phone jack, as you can see. That plug here is a multifunction plug. So you're able to have a instrument inputted here, or you can have a microphone. So that means you are able to plug in the professional graded microphone, something like the SM7B or SM58 or KSM42 or KSM44. You're able to provide phantom power as well. So this unlocks plenty of possibilities that professional podcasters like to have on their devices. And now because you can record audio on your phone, you can turn your phone into a podcasting station on the spot. So for those who are not very technical, they don't like to do, a complicated setups on the devices. They don't want to use sound interfaces and do editing and do, let's say, sequencers and, all of that story. This makes it easier for you. You can even use the application that is provided by Shure, which is the Motive application. And then you can do the basic editing, as in just cutting the beginning and the end, which is the preparation before the recording, and the ending of your session, which sometimes ends up to be some off-the-line chat. So you can just cut the edges here, and you're good to go. Done. Upload it to your website, and your podcast is ready. It also has the same touch panel at the front, so nothing to wear and tear. And then just for the questions, I will answer the questions towards the end. So any questions that you have here, I will answer them towards the end. So you can actually bear with me, okay? But please make sure that your question is mentioning which part. So mention the device that you are asking questions about. So looking here at the pictures, we can see that the phone, headphones, microphone, and this turns your setup into a mobile studio. Literally, all you need to add is a phone. The phone is actually just steering the inputs and outputs, and you're good to go. You can even add nice microphones, just like my 55 here. You can see the picture here. They're using a 55 with the MVI, and it's good to go as well as a podcasting system. So these are more examples on what you can use with the MVI. So PGA 58 or SM58 are one of the most available microphones in the market that you can use. So these microphones can be easily connected. All you need is a microphone cable. You can actually buy these microphones with a cable already. It comes provided with a cable sometimes. So just look for the option that has the cable included, and you can literally start podcasting from that spot. You can scale it up and use the SM7B, a very famous podcasting microphone or radio microphone. It's a very versatile microphone as well. I mean, it's amazing for guitars, bass, singing. For those who know this microphone, you can read about it to know more. But it's one of the microphones that was used by Michael Jackson in his album called Thriller. So using this microphone with that interface is doable. A lot of people who know this microphone as well know that this microphone is hungry for gain. It requires a lot of gain to make it work. And the MVI has 20 decibels additional gain on the preamplifier. That makes it useful with this microphone or even other microphones that doesn't have enough output. An example will be also that 55 or even the ribbon microphones. So you'll not need to worry on using this with the MVI at all. For people who want to do different kind of activities or different kind of content, who want to step away and be free with their hands, you can even use wirelesses. So you can use the wireless receiver and plug it directly into your interface, which is the MVI. So I'm gonna bring. So here we have a wireless receiver. That's a BLX88. So let's say you wanna use one of the channels because that's a dual channel. So if you have the single one, which is a BLX4, you just plug in the XLR out from the receiver into the MVI, and then you are ready to use your wireless microphones with a setup. So that means now you can step away. So have your phone or your camera set up, and now you can actually step away without losing the integrity of the audio. For people who want to do content creation with more activity, like either house of worship or the athletes who want to do kind of a demonstration of a training or something like this, where they need to even move further and their hands have to be completely free, or even teachers. So those who do education need to use a whiteboard. Then they can also use a wireless system with a body pack, a head-worn microphone or a lav microphone, and the same thing can work. So you can see that the MVI is making it even easier. If you want to use a digital solution, then you can use a GLXD instead of the BLX, and the same thing. Just plug in the receiver into the MVI, and you're good to go. Same thing by using body packs. Now, this is a setup that I love, and I started using this during the closure time that we had here. So if I need to stream music, or I need to play back some music while I'm using my microphone at the same time through my phone on Instagram or something like this, then this setup is going to be amazing here. What happens is now you're going to have your DJ desk, a couple of microphones plugged into an external mixer. Any mixer that can accommodate those is fine. The output of the mixer will go into the MVI, and then you can start streaming or podcasting online. Now, the same thing if you have multiple guests as a podcaster. So let's say I'm the moderator, or I'm the main presenter, and I have 3 or 4 or 5, 6 guests, let's say, in my room here, and we're going to have a panel. So what happens is now I can plug in all these microphones into the mixer. The output of the mixer can go into the MVI, and then that will go on your phone or in your laptop, and you can start streaming. So this is another example here that you can use a laptop. And this is another device actually which I would suggest if you want to use a laptop. It's a bit of an old device, but not many people know about it. It's called the X2U. So this converts an XLR to a USB, and some of the microphones like SM57 or SM58 comes with these as an option. So this is also another device that can be used if your setup is only a laptop, but it doesn't work on your phone. You can use 2 of them if you want to stream in stereo. So if you want to stream on YouTube, or I think on Facebook, I think Facebook right now accommodates stereo streaming. So you can use 2 of these devices, and you can do ASIO for all aggregate devices and stream in stereo left and right. Some setups are quite complicated, but it can be simplified using the MVI with your phone. So there are right now a HDMI to USB adapters. These are very interesting devices that you can use on your computers, but I believe those also work on some of the phone devices. So I've seen a setup that was interesting here is that they used an iPhone to USB adapter. The USB adapter is going into a hub, and that hub is going then into a Ethernet adapter here for a camera, and to an MVI in the end with a microphone. Sorry for this. So you can see that this converts the phone into becoming a very high-end studio with the proper equipment. So if you look at the picture here, like it's a decent setup, proper camera with a lighting equipment, tripod for the phone to be recording audio, and you can see a bottom setup here as well with a musician playing his instrument. Now, next in the family is the MV88 Plus. This is a game changer for a lot of the people. It's based on a microphone called VP88. VP88 is a famous microphone that was used to capture audience in football fields or big stadiums because of the ability that it can capture stereo sounds. Now, this is good also to recreate an ambience. If you're doing a podcast or you're doing something in an ambience and you want your listeners to hear that ambience the same way it is. Let's say you are in an auditorium or you are in a place where the ambience is important. Then the MV88 Plus is very useful in that case. It converts your phone into a high quality, studio quality audio camera that enables you to go anywhere you want to go. And the microphone has multiple patterns as well that can flip the same microphone into different usages. So if you want to use it as a podcasting setup, you use the cardioid mode. So we can see here that it has different polar patterns that you can control with the digital signal processor. So you have cardioid, bidirectional or figure 8. You have XY, which is a stereo recording, and something called mid-side MS for sound effects. All of those can be selected with this microphone, and it can help you have more capabilities or more setups that is easy for you to use. In standard podcasting, you can use the two setups in the middle, which is the figure 8 and the cardioid. Figure 8 is good for two guests. So I can put the microphone in the middle, and then I can have two guests interact with the same microphone. The cardioid is good for a single guest. So in a situation which is like myself right now, if I want to use this microphone, I just position it in a way it's pointing at me. I put it in a cardioid mode, and I'll be good to go. If I want to audition instruments or record some instruments, then I can use the last two, which is the mid-side and the XY. For those who attended previous webinars, I did few clips using this microphone, and you could hear the sound on them. So you can go on our YouTube channel and refer to the How to Mic sessions, part 1 and part 2, and you can hear these mics in action on instruments. The microphone comes with a different mounting capability, so it comes with a tripod and a microphone clip and a phone clip at the same time. So you can use it as a handheld device with a microphone clip to the edge. You can put the microphone directly on the tripod. You can put the microphone on the phone holder, then on the tripod. You can put it sideways, backside, or the front. So out of the box, the mounting capabilities is already a lot. These are pictures to how you can use the microphone. So it can be either as a standard filming camera. You can do duos. So each one of you will have a microphone and you can shoot each other. So you can have either a monologue or you can have a back and forth conversation. You can use it for instruments as well to create videos for especially people who are doing Instagram videos or YouTube videos or even Facebook videos. These are all doable right now with a very high quality audio that your listeners is going to be more connected to you when they hear that. The last in the family is the MVL, which is a lavalier microphone. This is a good microphone that works with reporters starting from. A lot of the reporters want to record the interview or they want to record it with a video, but they don't like to use the built-in microphone of the phone because it's able to capture a lot of the ambience noise. This microphone actually has less sensitivity to the ambience noise. It's more like a professional lavalier microphone. Not mentioning that you have a closer proximity with the user, so it enables you to mount the microphone just like any lavalier microphone, and then you can record a video of that interview with a high quality audio. Now, if you're doing podcasting and you're recording, this is even perfect as well. So what happens here, you just put your phone wherever you need it, you start shooting your video with the phone, and you have the lavalier mounted on your collar or your shirt, and the quality of the audio will be much better than before. Of course, next week, I'll make sure that I will play back some demos and we'll switch between different microphones based on the setups I mentioned today. So this brings us to the end of today's webinar. I'm sure that there were some questions, and if there's more questions, please feel free to type those in the Q&A box, not in the chat, so I can notice the questions other than the comments. So let me see the first one. So there was a question about using the I think it was the MVI. Can it be used for live streaming using the phone? The answer to this question is definitely yes. I personally used it for my Instagram live streams, and I used to use it with the same microphone here or even other microphones like KSM8, SM7B, SM27, KSM42. I've used all these microphones on the MVI during my live streams, and a lot of the people were asking me about the sound, on why my sound was clear because of that. And I was mentioning that to them as like what kind of microphones I'm using and what kind of setup I'm using. So yes, the answer is MVI would work. All the other Motive products works good with live streaming. So do we have more questions here? I'd like just to give a notification here is that all these webinars are recorded and they will be posted on YouTube. So for those who didn't attend it, if you have any friends or colleagues that you know that would benefit from these webinars, you can refer them to our YouTube channel, which is Shure Mia. And you can even catch all the other webinars that you might have missed before. And of course, make sure that you stay tuned for our next webinars, which will continue on where we stopped today, which is going to be the hands-on part about these microphones or these devices with different microphones. So I'll be using the devices that I mentioned today. I'll switch between them. I'll show you the interface on the phone with screen sharing, and you'll be able to see how I'm able to control these microphones and how the sound quality of these microphones are translating into the webinar. So just like you can hear me right now on this microphone here, you'll be able to hear all the Motive devices as well and have an idea on how they sound like. So I hope you enjoyed the webinar for this day, and I hope to catch you next week on another episode of our webinars. Until then, please be safe and hope to see you soon. Have a good one and goodbye.